after this interview, Google like Shane Todd Belfast Telegraph or Irish News.
Yeah.
Any of the Q&As I do, I lie multiple times for my own amusement. And I did a podcast yesterday, and I mean, the people who I did it with may even listen to this, but what happened was they said, like, oh, do you have any hobbies outside of comedy? I was like, I'm a 32-year-old fucking dad. Like, I don't really have hobbies. So I said, oh, just archery. Now, I've never done archery in my entire life. And the girl went, oh, is that a joke? And I went, well, not really. I very nearly made the Ireland team for the Rio Olympics. I was like, I did archery throughout school, and I was like, I'm thinking about getting back into it now. I lie for my own enjoyment. So if you ask me a question and I think I'm going to give you a boring answer, I'll just lie.
Yeah, for entertainment purposes only. Like,
yeah.
But that's what I appreciate. Do you know what I mean? Never let a lie get in the way of a good story. Like, yeah, just fucking.
That's it. Welcome to stand up.
Yeah. Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Finnterviews. This is the very first episode of our 2021 season, and I couldn't be happier to open up with a whopper of an episode. It is, of course, with the phenomenal Shane Todd. Now, if you don't know Shane, you're going to get to know him very quickly in this episode. He is a comedian, presenter, podcaster and actor, known for his hilarious sketches, sellout comedy gigs, and for being one of the biggest names to come out of the Irish comedy scene in probably the last decade. I spoke to Shane all about the dramas of a new lockdown and Brexit, his journey into the comedy spotlight, how his family inspired his humour, and everything from choir robes and Hollister hell to arena gigs and what the future holds for Shane. Oh guys, I cannot tell you how thrilled I was to finally get Shane on the podcast. Honestly, for anybody from Ireland, especially from the north, they'll know Shane, especially my generation. We grew up with him. I know him from his sketches, from his comedy, and like even now he's presenting on Radio Ulster. Really, he was one of the ones that I had on the bucket list to get off. And yeah, it does not disappoint. I absolutely loved having him on, and I cackle for about 90% of the podcast. He just has a direct line to my funny bone, so hopefully you guys will really enjoy it as well. So without further ado, please enjoy the very first episode of 2021's Finnterviews with the wonderful Shane Todd. Well, welcome back to another episode of Finnterviews. On the show this week, I'm delighted to bring on Shane Todd. How's it going, Shane?
Connor, I'm good. Your giddiness is infectious. I mean, throughout lockdown, everything is bleak and dull and grey, but you might be the giddy. You're like an 8-year-old at a birthday party, and I love it, and I'm here for it. And let's just, I'm up for a good time. I'm up for a good time.
Oh, here, you're in for a treat then, because I'm just going to be pissing myself laughing. You'll say like, oh, well, Connor, I'm like...
Yeah, if only gigs work like that.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, do you know what? This is literally just like all I do with my guests as well. I've got actually like some people have said this, being like, do you laugh as much? It's like, is this just like thing put on? Honestly, it's not. I think I'm just excited to like see people that aren't like, that I don't live with anymore, and I just get overexcited. Joe, it's the little things. Tiny little things.
I'm the same. Like, look, I've since lockdown, it literally just me and my wife, and then about 6 months ago we had a baby. So I just look at those two, and genuinely, no offense to them, but when the postman arrives, I keep him talking for as long as possible. Like when he puts his hand through the post box, I grab his fingers and stuff. I'm like, what are you up to the rest of the day?
Yeah,
delivering mail. So yeah, no, I know what you mean. It is funny to see new faces, and I do the podcast over Zoom quite a lot of the time as well, and it is weird. It is weird to genuinely see other faces.
Yeah.
So I know what you mean by that.
I think it's hilarious as well, because obviously I'm the one that's reaching out to people like yourself, bigger creators, whatever like this. And for me to just be like, you're like, I'm not myself, and the other person, she's being like, you're talking to some wee spacky kid on the internet. Like, God love you. Like, I think my
not
lockdown.
The first
time. We got an exclusive there. Actually, this Shane's my entire interview of Jesus Christ. Shane, tell us about that time.
Yeah, look, chat roulette, you roll the dice, you see what you end up with. Am I allowed to swear in this podcast, Con?
Oh, fuck no.
Oh, and I like what you did there. I like it. I like it.
Yeah. God, yeah. Didn't know you were in with another comedian today. Yeah. Oh my God,
No,
I'm gonna
no.
get fucking cancelled off my brothers now. They'd be like, "You're such a wee prick in this." Like,
I mean, that's 2021, isn't it? You just described it as being cancelled by your brothers. I mean, I thought like you could only be cancelled from, I don't know, the internet or a TV show, but you're like, no, I've been cancelled in my house.
oh yeah, like yeah, completely like removed a couple of times now. So yeah, that's why I had to run down to Dublin here. So that's where I'm actually set up at the moment. Just getting that cross community kind of bond going here. Fuck that
Love it.
Brexit
I love it.
shit. Yeah. So that's what we're working with right now. But
I said, sorry to interrupt, but I said, when people ask me about Brexit, I mean, we have this thing in Northern Ireland where because we're like a special case for Brexit, people always ask our opinion on it, and we act like we know more about Brexit than everyone else. People in Northern Ireland know, including myself, know fuck all about Brexit. And I used to joke that if I was doing like, like BBC Five Live or something like that, would call me and ask me about Brexit, and I'd go on, and they would say things like, so what does that mean for someone like you and travel and that kind of thing. And I used to always say, oh well, this isn't funny, but I was like, the only thing I need to know about Brexit is if it's going to change the day my bins get collected, let me know. That's all I care about. And genuinely, as soon as we went into Brexit, like last week or whatever, my bins haven't been collected for 2 weeks because our bin men are on strike. And at this point, I'm thinking about just tin foiling the whole house and just bolting the door shut. It's the apocalypse.
Jesus, yeah. Your worst fears have finally came alive.
100%. Yeah. I mean, your life's okay if your biggest fear is your bin's not being empty, but
yeah,
I'm being brave and I'm going through it.
Yeah, I feel like I have the most like middle class struggle where I was like, you know what? Oh, it probably wouldn't affect too many things being like back down Dublin here. I don't know what the fuck it is. Maybe they import all their hummus in or whatever. I'm trying to be like healthy and be like, oh, I won't be like snacking. Like I'll try to be like, see all these people with their avocados, different hummus stuff. I was like, yeah, I'll get into like just chopping up like vegetables and just dipping it in stuff. And that way I'll not be a wee fat bastard. Turns out, Brexit fucked that over everything. You can't get hummus for miles here. Don't know what to do with that.
Yeah. You're doing okay if that's a genuine concern for you. You're doing okay. It's going all right.
It truly is, yeah.
It's like the people complaining about what Marks and Spencer, like Marks and Spencers don't deliver certain items in Northern Ireland anymore. People are like, isn't this terrible? I'm like, people are dying. And you can't get fucking Percy Pigs, you piece of shit.
Here, the struggle's for real, do you know what I mean? It's for all platforms.
I mean, I think they are still doing Percy Pigs, and if they didn't, genuinely, I would riot.
Yeah.
Love those things.
Just have all the yummy mummies out the front door. That's why they can't get their M&S brand wine. Like.
And me, who looks like a yummy mummy.
Yeah, that's why I like to keep on podcasts. Little did people know you're dressed up to the dolls here, like her rollers in.
Full suit.
But here, for maybe the people that don't know who you are, Shane.
There isn't. Who are you talking about? Who are you talking about? Because that is not a thing. I know you have to do that with other guests. I get it. But with me, don't worry about that section of the podcast where you're like, for people who don't know who Shane is, Connor, wise up. Wise up.
Yeah, this is when you just log off. You're like, oh, sorry, I thought I was coming on to, a fucking interview, not a charity case. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. No. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know me, well, they won't be able to get this because they clearly don't have the internet. So.
Well, in the rare occasion that they're coming from me to know you, I think they've got a fucking problem going on.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
True. I'm only joking, of course, but no.
Yeah, too bad. All right. But maybe tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, like your background, I suppose. Just like...
Well, I'm a Gemini, and I like long walks and chat roulette. Yeah, I'm a stand-up comedian, man about town, gallivanter. I do podcasts. I mean, I do too many things when I list it. Like I do a bit of radio, a bit of acting, a little bit of presenting and stuff. Really, I kind of would just describe myself as a comedian who does some other things when I'm not able to gig because, the north of Ireland, Northern Ireland, whatever you want to call it, it's a great place, but as a stand-up, there aren't that many gigs. So you kind of do have to do a lot of different things as well to kind of support that.
Like what you put down your insurance that you do. That's what we're...
Just write fucking Prince. Just write the People's Prince.
I think
all
I'm
my
put down as
insurance.
an IT technician or some shit at the moment. Like, and Jesus Christ, I've hard enough time setting up Zoom, but you know what? Those rates are stellar.
You're an IT technician. I'm done as a nail technician. It's a good time. I'm done as a comedian, just as a comedian. And what's weird is I got a COVID test a couple of weeks ago. And when you drive through, I don't know if you've done one. You drive through, you phone this mobile number,
Oh yeah.
and the wee girl's at the hatch, and she goes, "What's your occupation?" Here's me. I like roll my eyes and all. I'm like, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" She can see me, by the way, in the car, and I go, "Comedian," and she goes, "Okay, that's you. Go on." I was like, "You don't want to ask me about it." You don't want to like, do you want me to tell you a joke or something? I love it because if she was like, "Oh yeah," I would genuinely just do a 15-minute set
Oh,
because I miss gigging.
yeah, it's getting that to ask her. She's like, no, really, we do have a cube. Oh, no, no, no. They're told,
Yeah.
whereabouts you're from there. Yeah, you try to get
Yeah,
like some
yeah,
crowd banter going from her.
yeah. So, no, for anyone who doesn't know, I'm a stand-up comedian.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that wrapped it all into one pretty succinctly. But like, I suppose like, I saying to you just before this, I was trying to be really original with like my questions and interviews, and then I ended up going for a walk today. I listened to some of the other interviews you're on, and I kind of already know the questions to these. Well, some of them, but like I want, you know what? It'll do no harm. We'll refresh your memory. I think the last one I listened to that you're answering some of these questions was like 2019. So who knows? You may have like
I'll
changed
answer
it
them
up.
all differently. I'll lie, like
Yeah,
genuinely, Connor. Right, no joke. I did a podcast yesterday, right, and
I don't believe you.
no, I was like a guest on it. It was a guy and a girl hosting, and I do this thing, and I won't do it. I genuinely won't do it here. You have my word, but like sometimes if I'm doing an interview and I don't want to answer something, I will just like lie, but it's only for the benefit of, with a really specific lie, and it's only for the benefit of myself. Any newspaper interview I do, I mean, you're not going to do this after this interview. Google like Shane Todd, Belfast Telegraph, or Irish News.
Yeah.
Any of the Q&As I do, I lie multiple times for my own amusement. And I did a podcast yesterday, and I mean, the people who I did it with may even listen to this, but what happened was they said like, "Oh, do you have any hobbies outside of comedy?" I was like, I'm a 32-year-old fucking dad. Like, I don't really have hobbies. So I said, "Oh, just archery." Now, I've never done archery in my entire life. And the girl went, "Oh, is that a joke?" And I went, "Well, not really. I very nearly made the Ireland team for the Rio Olympics." I was like, I did archery throughout school, and I was like, I'm thinking about getting back into it now. I lie for my own enjoyment. So if you ask me a question and I think I'm going to give you a boring answer, I'll just lie.
Yeah, for entertainment purposes only. Like,
Yeah.
But that's what I appreciate. Do you know what I mean? Never let a lie get in the way of a good story. Like, yeah, just fucking.
That's it.
Sell it to
Welcome
me.
to stand up.
Yeah. So what are your thoughts on Brexit? Love it, yeah. But here, I suppose, when did you first get into, as you said, kind of comedy? Because I know, like, it's something that, like, speaking to different people, like, I've had, like, say, people, as you're saying there, last week I had Vittorio Angeloni, I had Tim Gary on, Doing Doherty. Everybody comes into this world of comedy, even Justine Stafford, girl I used to work with, comes in from the most random scenarios into this. But you had a bit of a different one, wasn't it, whenever you were in tech and something, and it kind of like evolved from there. But like, what I'm wondering is like, how does it ever like get to that? Like, did you know that you had a passion for it and this was like potentially a path that you were going to go down, or you had kind of like another path in mind for a while, didn't you?
Well, it's no, as much as I had a passion for comedy, like, watching sketch shows and stand up and all that kind of thing, like I love comedy in like the art form of it, and then also like in real life, I love it as well. Like,
Yeah.
I like coming on here, having a laugh with you, or when you're with family or whatever. Like, I love laughter. Like, I love making people laugh. I love when people make me laugh. So I always enjoyed it, but it was never really, before I did it, it wasn't really something I ever thought you could do. I was like, well, stand up is just a thing that, I don't know, it's something I never saw a path into. I was like, you can't just decide you're going to go and do that. Turns out you kind of can, but I didn't know that. And this was long before social media, really. So you couldn't, the way we know it today, you couldn't just DM a stand-up comedian that you like and say, I'm thinking of doing this. You any tips?
Yeah.
This was way before that. So I loved comedy in school. I loved stand up and all that, but I was not shy, but I wasn't like I don't know. I wasn't confident in a performance sense. In school, I never would have done a school play. I never would have got into acting as much as probably deep down I would love to have done that.
Yeah.
I was worried about what people would think. So whenever I was 18, I was in college and really starting to sort of feel comfortable in my own skin, because I went to an all boys school and it was kind of stuffy and
Oh, here,
it
preaching
just
to the
didn't
choir.
it just didn't suit me. It really didn't suit me. I went to a really good school, but it just wasn't my vibe kind of. So I went to college. I dropped out of school at 16 and went to college, and just silly things like wearing your own clothes and getting the bus in the Belfast city centre. It just made me feel a wee bit like not a different person, but I don't know. It's hard to describe. It made me be like, all right, like I feel like this is kind of me.
Yeah, you're
And
coming to your own a wee bit more rather than like. Do you know what I always put it down to? Like the all boys school, like the non-uniform days, the most stressful fucking time of my life. Everybody's coming in their like jerseys and they're like whatever, like just like trackies stuff like this. I'm like, I mean, if people couldn't tell already, I'm not a big fucking sporty person. I'm like equal parts unathletic and also like really, really competitive. So that just doesn't work for me at all. So I remember like coming in jeans stuff and like you wouldn't think, walking around town, anything else normal. You go into an all boys school wearing something that you might wear, randomly. It's like trying to act up, are you, boy? Like, except
I know exactly what you mean.
Except half of them are farmers from South Armagh. Yeah, so yeah, that was a bit of a different scope for me. But I understand, yeah, kind of like getting out of that kind of shield thing. Yeah, you kind of get to be yourself, but
just felt more sort of more comfortable as a person. So at about 18, I started thinking about stand up and going, right, well, is this something I could maybe do? I had like a bit of an urge to do it. And I thought, like, maybe I'll do this once, say I've done it, and then that's it. It was never going to be a career path for me. I didn't think it was ever a viable career path. Even after I've been doing it for a number of years, I still didn't think like, oh, this is it just felt like for a long time the most fun hobby in the world. And so I gave it a go. I did a gig in the Black Box in Belfast. I emailed a guy that was running a comedy club. Can't remember where I got his email, and I asked for a spot. He put me on. It was a total disaster. I mean, it was a disaster in that the material I'd planned all went out the window. I forgot it all because the nerves got the better of me. I'd never performed before.
Apart from the only anxiety, I get you.
Yeah, and it just came on all of a sudden. And the only experience I've had on stage was I used to fucking rip it up in school choirs, like rip it up, like to the point where, like, honestly, I didn't think I was that good a singer, but I went to Strandtown Primary School in Belfast, and I'm just one of the guys. I'm in the choir, it's a good time. Then all of a sudden, these cathedrals. It's a bit like in the primary school choirs, like playing for an Irish League football club.
Yeah,
like your Glentoran, your Linfield, your Cliftonville, and then the cathedrals come down to scout scout the talent. That's a bit like Real Madrid and Barcelona coming down to watch the match. Then all of a sudden, these cathedrals are like, listen, come and sign for us, mate. So I remember genuinely going to St Anne's Cathedral and somewhere else's cathedral, and this is like proper choiring.
Yeah,
and I was like,
none of the amateur shit.
Fuck that! All the guys in the school choir, I was like, go fuck yourselves. I was like, I'm in a cathedral choir now, and then I was like, this is great. And then the guys running it were like the religion guys running it were like, here, we're doing performance on Saturday at a wedding. You got to wear this, and it was like a silk purple dress, and I was like, hey, I'm on to you guys. I was like, get me out of here. Get me out of here. It was weird.
I was all right with the ball gag, but I draw the line at the silk dress, guys. Come on.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, why do you want us to sing in that? Just let me wear jeans and a Man United shirt. I don't know why I need to wear a pink dress in front of a minister or whatever. It would have been a red rag to a bull. A purple rag to a priest. But I was like, no, I'm not in for this. So that was the only time I performed, was in choirs. Yeah. But I left that behind in primary school. For secondary school, I was like, no, I'm leaving the choir game behind. Someday I might get into it in the future. I don't know. But like join the Harlem Gospel Choir or something, I know. But Yeah, I don't know if this answers your question, but my path into stand-up was like I admired it from afar for a long time, and then I kind of just thought, out of curiosity, let me go and do this, and it kind of just it went from there. But it wasn't like a quick thing for me. Like it was a hobby of mine for a long time, and there was periods where I was like, yeah, maybe just ditch this next year or whatever, and I just sort of stuck with it, and it clicked sort of, where I was like, okay, no, I think I might have a talent for this, and then progressed to actually maybe I should just be doing this full time. So it's been long. Like I've been doing stand up for this is like my 14th year of stand up, which is nuts. But I love it so much that it's such a huge part of my life. And even the times where I was like, I might not do this anymore, it was just a case of feeling like maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I need to get focused more on a job or a career.
Yeah.
It was never my passion for stand up never went away. So it's weird. Like for 14 years, I've been really, really into it, and not being able to do it for the last year. Well, on and off, but not being able to do it really for the last year or so has only made me appreciate it more. Like,
yeah, sure, you're laughing. Like, do you know what I mean? No, it's mad to hear about, even like anybody that kind of has gotten to this career, like especially for yourself, like anybody, from Northern Ireland, North, whatever you want to call it, as again, like you especially have been like, I feel like such a staple, like not to say like, well, yeah. Like I've kind of grown up like seeing yourself, wherever it was on screens or like, on social media as well. You're kind of one like the main ones that's like consistently like always up there. And it would have been like the same with even like Colin Gaddis, Barry the Blender Henderson. It's like when you're at an all boys school, you're growing up and you're seeing like these funny guys on the internet, and you're just like, God, do you know what I mean? Like, but you never kind of understand like how they get in there or whatever like this, or how it kind of like evolved from there. But good to know that, like, I mean, it's essentially just choir than comedy. Is that like is that
choir?
Is that fair enough?
My life goes choir, comedy, family.
Yeah.
In that order. Yeah, no, the choir days are behind me, but you never know. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's very, it's even weird to hear, sort of like you get in. Well, personally, like I just get into my own world with comedy and this kind of thing, and going through like a routine of writing sketches and going out to do gigs, and it's not that you're not leading a normal life, because like, listen, me, Colin, all those guys, like we're doing well at comedy, but it's not like we live in a different world. You know what I mean? Like we're still very much like grounded, because we do this sort of in Northern Ireland. But it's weird, the idea that there would be, a sixth form common room in Armagh or wherever you're saying you were, and there's people like watching my videos like that. That doesn't, I never think about that in like the best possible way, because you maybe start to like, you can overthink it and start to get nervous or feel pressure. I never think about people like watching my stuff. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, yeah, and it's another thing of like, because it's such a changeable industry, if you like comedy, you never, personally, like I feel like I never really take a second to reflect. I'm always really, really, really grateful for anything that goes well, but you always have to be thinking of the next thing. So if I really probably stopped and thought about the gigs I've done and maybe past videos and stuff like that, you could be really proud, and I probably will be someday. But at the minute, it's like I'm still as keen for stuff to work as I was when I was putting out the first videos.
Yeah. Still got the same buzz around you. Well, I mean, we'll be getting on some of those questions later on anyway, so like maybe we'll get to like relive some of that, and also maybe some of the horror stories or whatever. But like, I suppose like oh yes sir. But I suppose like as well, like from like, as you kind of said, like you're also appreciative of, comedy, content, whatever it was. And obviously you got into this kind of whole world and atmosphere, and, you've been building it up over the last couple of years between different characters, different kind of, just different humors, but something that obviously has stretched on and like it wasn't like, a quick burnout. It's like had such longevity to it. Like, but what I'm wondering, like, was there any kind of inspiration, kind of humor or comedy, or like anybody that particularly influenced you? Because I feel like I said this to a couple of ones. I mean, it tends to be like the comedians I talk to from North there, like would tend to be around Belfast area, and I always kind of give a story of like I feel like your surroundings are such an informative, way to like find out your type of humor and comedy. Like, it's first time I was up in Belfast, whatever like this. I was at a bar, or well, was taking this girl on a date, whatever like this. End up couldn't get her in somewhere, so we went to the crime bar. Guy comes up to us, literally goes, "Do you want a magic trick? Do you want to see a magic trick?" Has a big trench coat all on. I was expecting a flash. Pulls off his ear. I think that's like just a perfect like encapsulation. You're not going to really see that elsewhere. Do you know what I mean?
Was it my dad? It
yes.
could have been. It probably was. So. It probably was. That's an old one of his. Probably the person that would have been influenced by the most wasn't a stand-up. It was probably my granny Peggy, because
she like pulling off her ear as well.
yeah. No nose. Hers was her nose.
Oh, God, yeah.
No, she was just she had that very sort of sharp working class sense of humor, and was really, really good at cutting somebody down just with one line, and so much of bad comedy is taking so long just to get to the thing, to say the thing.
Yeah.
We call it like a setup or for your punchline, and we're all guilty of sometimes we ramble on when we're doing comedy. The best comedy is just punch after punch. And my granny was really good at just like having a classic line. So I grew up in kind of that environment of always being in her house with aunties and cousins and uncles and stuff, of like, you really have to think on your feet and you got to be quick with your humor, because humor was everything. If you were funny, you were really popular. Like, it didn't really, nothing else mattered. It didn't matter what your job was or what age you were, anything like that. But if people knew you as like, he's actually pretty funny, it counted for a lot. So she was definitely a big influence. And I've kind of always been around funny people. I naturally like gravitate towards people that are funny. Like it's humor over everything for me, So probably influenced by loads and loads of different stuff. And the characters that you mentioned there, they are influenced definitely by real people, but also stereotypes as well. But it's kind of they're always a combination of a lot of different people, because I think you got to be, probably have to be careful not to, base a character on a real life person that is in the public eye, because it's probably like very bad, like but sly, like so you're maybe taking an element. Yeah, you're taking an element from 20 different people or 10 different people or whatever it is.
So essentially what I'm hearing is your granny was just great at just roasting the shite out of people, and
yes.
And that's entirely where you get it from.
Probably, yeah.
No, but I think that's kind of with everybody as well. Like, I mean, you're kind of mentioned there a bit about like the lead up to like, the build up to a joke and stuff like this. I'm so guilty of this. Like, even in the podcast, I know I ramble on stuff like that as well. But for somebody that is able to just, crack somebody like straight down so quickly, like there's like, I think there's just an appreciation for like that person's brain is working so quickly and so sharp that they can just like slice into like we kind of have a similar one, like an auntie, like whatever, like I think she, like, her name's Deirdre anyways, right? And she has been called Deirdre, and like obviously this, like anytime we go like around, all the cousins all like this, similar kind of atmosphere, everybody's kind of cracking jokes whatever like this, but you kind of have to be sharp. My cousin, she'd be like very slim kind of girl, but I remember she like tried to get in a quick one, and Deirdre being like, oh yeah, whatever, and Deirdre, whatever like this, blah blah blah, kind of made some joke around her, right? Like without like hesitation, without like missing a breath, like she just turns around her and go like, I was asking her, she asked her about something like a bra size or something like this, was trying to take the piss out of her. Without like losing a breath, she just turned around to this girl, like her niece, and was like, you look like two aspirins on an ironing board, and just like cut the conversation out. Like, I remember like not just thinking that, just being like, that's both cutting and really accurate.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
when there's
yeah.
a visualization to it, I was just getting like, all right, dude, just fucking wind yourself
Yeah.
in. Like,
100%. Yeah,
just
yeah,
wants a little joke.
and that's what I like. I like cutting people down, but like getting it as well from like
Yeah.
friends and stuff. You know, like that has to be part of it. Like you have to be able to obviously take it if you're going to give it out.
Yeah, that's it. But I suppose, like, as well, before this kind of whole career, as you said, it's been building over through kind of podcast and comedy, content creation, everything else. I mean, Jesus Christ, like, freaking radio shows and, you know, series on BBC. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's been pretty eclectic. Before all of this, like, maybe tell us about some of the character jobs that you had growing up that maybe, like, informed the person that you are today. Similar kind of situations, like, maybe inspiration from family and friends. I don't know if you had many kind of, like, random jobs that, like, you know, as you
Yeah.
said, like, inspiration for different characters or anything like this.
Yeah, well, I think my first it was difficult like whenever I was younger to have time for like a part-time job because obviously I was, you know, competing in archery so much, but when I wasn't, I think my first job was when I was 15. I was a dishwasher basically at
Mm.
a restaurant, the yacht club in the posh part of Hollywood. That's where the Mike McGoldrick character came from because I encountered so many larger than life, eccentric, loud guys. These
Yeah.
characters I'd never really met before. You know, people who were never reined in, like you mentioned, reining in there. People who never been reined in their life, and I was only used to people that were reined in because if you were above your station or whatever, you were put in your place where I was from. But these guys were just anything goes, just really loud and brash. And years later, that influenced that. But yeah, I was a dishwasher for a couple of years, which was great crack because you were always on with somebody else, like another fella your age, and
Hmm.
still actually friends with a couple of those guys now. So and in the kitchen, I don't know if you ever worked in a kitchen, but there's like a good atmosphere because like it's stressful. Like when it's hot, then you know you're firing out loads of orders and stuff. But then in the more relaxing times, like chefs are nutcases, so it's always good crack. And there was one particular guy I worked with called Frankie, who was just a complete character, and loved working with him. I worked whenever I was 16. I started also working a summer job for like a finance magazine, just as like an admin guy doing odds and ends. But I
Hmm.
would have like I always had like good work ethic and that's so I would have like worked that job 9 to 5 during the summer and then got the train back to Hollywood, got on my bike that I parked at the train station, cycled down to the yacht club and work there. You know, I just kind of liked working. I like to earn a few quid. So I did that. I worked in a couple of garages around near where I lived. And then I worked in Hollister in Victoria Square.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's a good
yeah.
one for the CV now.
Yeah, that's it's great for the CV. What like when you're trying to get gigs in comedy, you know, if you could say you worked in Hollister, you know, it opens a few doors. No, that was weird. Here's the thing when you went for an interview to work in Hollister, they essentially just wanted good looking people, right? That's all they were in. They may as well have said it, but they found so many ways to skirt around the issue, and they were hiring front of house. So people who would like greet you as you walked into the shop, they were
You
like,
did not do front of house, did you?
I didn't do front of house. They were the
Oh,
A-listers, right? They were the
sorry.
A-listers. No, it's fine. They used to have the shirt off as well, like and
Yeah.
fucking weird. Then the next tier down, you had like shop floor staff, so they would serve you at the tills and they'd be there if you needed a hand.
Hmm.
Then the bottom rung was overnight, which was basically as soon as the shop closed, you go back in and you fold everything and get the shop sitting perfect. Because what they did that was so weird was they didn't have any hangers really. So
Yeah.
everything was folded perfect, sitting on top of each other. So if you went in and tried on a t-shirt, you just pulled your size out of this big pile. People had to go in and perfectly, and like you had to do it meticulously, reset the whole thing. So they were like the the bottom rung of good looking people. I didn't get hired at all, and then they phoned me because one of the people for the overnight couldn't take the job. They were like, "Do you want to get in?" So that's where I found out where I stood on the good looking scale. So I did that job for a couple of months and hated it. Everybody was fake. Like 9 out of 10 people that worked there were so fake. Like they worked in Hollister in Belfast, and they thought that they worked in Hollister in California.
Like,
You know what I mean? Like,
isn't that like the joke as well, that like whenever you hear like anybody working a Hollister, it'd be like, oh, we know how to get in there. It's like, oh yeah, I got like scouted for it. Like I remember that was like big thing when like ones would like go up to like Belfast to do their shop and be like, oh, you know, we need to go in a Hollister, and literally all you're going in like nobody could afford anything either, and then they just maybe buy that like bottle spray stuff. Do you know that they like? I'm pretty sure they infuse it into the air, so everybody just comes out smelling like a horny teen. Like,
yeah, it was weird. So I worked there, and then I worked before I went full time in comedy. I worked in a call center for a couple of years.
Has to be done. That was actually going to be my first job, and then like I have no idea. It's my first interview for a proper job. Before all this, I had already worked in like doing strawberry picking at like my uncles and dad's farms. And I remember, I don't know if you had this whenever did they like ever, I was supposed to be like customer care or something like this, and they put me in a scenario where somebody had an issue and you had to like go around it. But before this, I would have been like, you know, my hobby would have been like going to like little theater and acting things, whatever like this. So whenever they gave me the scenario for it, literally said like, John Doe, this is like a situation, I took it as like a character reference. So I was like, I am John Doe and I've got an issue. And they called me into the room, and that's what I started like, be like, well, yeah, I'm just like really upset with them, and then still managed to get the job. I mean, I turned it down for pizza company I probably can't mention anymore, but equally horrific. Yeah, rhymes with that. Yeah.
I said Domino's, and it's a pizza company that rhymes with Domino's.
Well, I can't say yes or no.
Just say Domino's. Like nobody from Domino's will listen to this and get in touch. That's not going to happen. That's like,
do you know what? My first ever podcast thing, I went on a rant about for a good like half an hour. First of all, need to cut out half an hour content because I was just talking shite about it. But I just realized I was like, if I ever like, maybe it'd be great to not be, you know, try to blacklist myself from like any of these people. Like,
what do you think's gonna like? Say you, I don't know if you're gonna edit this out. I don't think you should ever edit anything out of a podcast. But let me say this: what's the big fear that you know that in 20 years you'll be doing this podcast, you'll be doing Joe Rogan, and Domino's are about to give you a £50 million endorsement deal, and then they go back to the back catalogue to this episode and go cancel it. You always going to spit in your Domino's? What are you worried about?
I don't know. I feel like it's just like one of those things. Like, okay, well, yeah, obviously it was Domino's, like, whatever. I'm not slating them in this podcast.
Watch this, right? Watch this. Fuck Pizza Hut. I have no reason to say that, but still. We're burning bridges.
Exactly. Well, I mean, if we're getting cancelled by a family, I don't really want to get cancelled by corporations. You know that kind of way.
Yeah, true.
Like, I'm running out of bridges to burn here, realistically.
Yeah,
true.
True.
But oh fuck me,
Papa John's, go fuck yourself. Let's get them all. Let's get them all out.
Yeah, any of the big ones. Yeah, who am I streaming this on? Spotify. Pricks, God, absolute cons.
I'm not going to say I totally disagree with that because I'm hoping for Spotify deal. So I'm going to say that you're totally in the wrong there. And Spotify one of the best streaming services in the world.
Well, maybe this will be my next question. Before you sold out, Shane. No, but I think that's like, it's kind of one of those things as well. Like, I don't even know where I was get to that, but like, yeah, odds and ends jobs, I feel like they kind of like, you need to do them to kind of humble yourself at least, or like get in those situations where it's like, maybe this like corners you back down as a person, as if, you know, your local families won't do that for you anyways, be like fucking notions on you, yeah, want your neck and like that. But I honestly don't even know what I was talking about anymore.
Neither do I. I'm not sure what the question was, but the answer is sure.
The answer 100%. Is yeah. The answer is still archery. Like, yeah, that's what we're working with.
Archery and quart.
Yeah. But I suppose this is kind of a horrendous question to ask anybody during lockdown, but I still feel like it's a fair enough one because, as I've said, you've kind of done a lot of different other escapes around here. But like, what does an average day look like for you? I mean, like, is there one day that's same? I mean, did you ever expect to be doing like chatting on Finnterviews? I mean, my God, like,
no.
Not many people do.
I've been saying for a while it would take a pandemic before I did this. I said that. What's an average day for me? Yeah, different all the time. I mean, different to the point where like my timings might be different and stuff, but
Mm.
the overall goal for the day is kind of entertain our son, make sure he's okay, get him his bottles, that's a priority.
Mm.
And then get out for a walk, stuff like that. Work
Look-
out, run, something like that. Like just I really like keeping active, especially at the minute. So I'm doing all that kind of stuff, and then work. I'm still just working away, even though there's not a lot happening. I'm just keeping sharp for when things do open up again. So I always have my notepad beside me, just in case I have a thought of stand up or a sketch or anything like that. And just the podcast is kind of the big focus for me at the minute. But then when stand up gets back, that'll go back to also being, my kind of day-to-day thing. So just doing like as much as I can, but also not spreading myself too thin and making sure I've got enough time to,
Yeah.
be a dad and a husband. So
Yeah, and do charity work on the side. I mean, like this. I mean, it's great to know that you're really ticking all the boxes. Do you know what I mean?
exactly.
Yeah. But I suppose as well, from this. Oh, I think I'm back.
You froze me there, but you're back. You're back.
Oh, thank God. Yeah, yeah. See, this is actually Spotify, like, cut me down. Actually, you know what? Zoom, great advertiser to be with. Yeah, we'll try maybe get with them. But I suppose from obviously doing odds and end jobs to getting to where you are today, have there been any major stand-up moments that kind of came from this whole career, your life, whatever it is, that you maybe never thought could have happened? Like did you ever expect to be doing like a rave lockdown for BBC? Like, I mean, I never expected to be listening to BBC Radio Ulster and bits and pieces to affect me emotionally. But
Yeah.
I mean, it only took pandemic, as you say.
Yeah, I mean, look, honestly, nearly all of it stands out in a way, because I never thought I would be doing any of this. I never thought I would be doing stand-up as a job. It literally is my dream job, like, and very, very lucky to be able to get to do it. But any kind of milestone or cool thing that happens, I am always really, really grateful for. One thing that stands out is the first time I did what I would consider like a big venue, which was Mandela Hall, Queen's Student Union. It wasn't really something that the comedians of my age or generation had really done at that point. Like, we have a thing where like we don't want to put ourselves out there, and it still honestly happens from time to time where you're like, no, we should, that's for the touring comedians, you don't want to feel like you're looking above your station or anything like that. But I did Mandela Hall, a place where I would have went and watched a lot of comedy, and it was, I sold it out and just had such fun doing like my show. So that was brilliant. And that's kind of the same feeling I get anytime I do a sort of solo show, like a tour show or anything like that. The fact that anyone comes to see it is great. Honestly,
like the bar is that low. If you get one,
no,
yeah.
I do.
Nobody can be going like, obviously,
I know.
Jesus.
No. I do set high standards, but honestly, the bar probably is lower than you think without being the defeatist, in that the goal is be able to do stand up, be funny, and even like, sometimes those gigs you do where maybe I do a tour show in a new place that I've never done before, and we sell 20% of the tickets, but it's actually a bit of crack and good fun. They're honestly nearly just as enjoyable as the likes of the Waterfront Hall or something like that.
Yeah.
Like the bar is, I don't even know if there is a bar, because it's such a changeable thing, this comedy, and you don't know where it's going to take you. And like, look, I think most local comedians, we were riding the crest of a wave before the pandemic. It peaked, like comedy here, people's appetite for it, the amount of people coming out to see live comedy and stuff, it was amazing. And we haven't been able to do it really since March. So you kind of have to be very interchangeable with your goals.
Yeah, I suppose that's fair enough. Like, yeah, like it doesn't, like, I suppose, like, that's kind of similar to other ones I've chatted to. It's not always about like, bigger venue, whatever, the thing like this, but like more to even the fact, like, I suppose it depends. Like, you know, say that you fucking like had everybody pissing themselves, like, and it was all like what, like 40 people in the audience, like it'd be the same kind of buzz off it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely,
Or is
100%.
there even any like kind of like errors that you done that you just were like, oh, this is going to be like horrendous to do, and then maybe just turned out actually, fuck, that actually went much better than I expected.
Yeah, quite a few, especially if you haven't, if you go somewhere and they haven't had comedy on before, they're maybe starting a comedy club for the first time,
Hmm.
you know, somewhere like out of the city, that are like, we'll give this a go. You worry about so many factors, like, is everyone going to be able to see and hear me? Like, that's the basic requirement for stand up. It doesn't always happen. You know, you can find out the layout of the bar is like you know, like an L shape, so like half the people can't see you, and you're like, what? How do you think this is okay? And like the sound, like sometimes you'll get booked for a gig and you'll get there and the people running it are like, this hasn't happened in a while, but they're like, have you got a microphone and all with you? And you're like, obviously not.
I'd heard that one
Fuck.
before.
All that kind of stuff. So it's look, I would, but don't get me wrong, the fact that it's been away for a while, like I would kill to go and do a place in the back end or to nowhere with a shit PA system and a bad layout. I'd kill for that now. Like, so when it's bad, it's never too bad, you know.
Yeah, just start off, maybe go to a bus stop or something like that, just to get the buzz off. Like,
anyway.
But like, on the contrary to that, I know that there's never really been like any, you know, really like horrendous, well, maybe, I don't know, maybe horrendous or things like, or nothing's really been, all of the things that you've done so far have been great, but have there been any kind of like major, you know, particularly not great moments or stories that have came from working in this kind of industry that, as I say, from the outside, you know, me, kid in school, watch your videos, be like, this lad just seems to be fucking having a laugh of his life. Like, is there anything like in particular that you've kind of realized since being in this, like, oh, didn't really expect that to be like an issue?
No, I mean, look, to answer your question, things go badly all the time. You know, for every good moment, you probably look back and realize you've had a bad moment. I'm very laid back guy. Like, I work hard, but I'm like naturally like laid back. So
Yeah.
I definitely take the rough with the smooth. But yeah, you can, I mean, having bad gigs, sometimes people will say, have you ever had a bad gig? And you're like, listen, we're all capable of having a bad gig at any moment. It doesn't matter who you are. Like, Dave Chappelle is in my opinion, the best stand-up in the world at the minute. He can have a bad gig. Anyone at any time can have. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason for it. Sometimes you do know why it happened. But yeah, I mean, it's the same with videos as well. You know, you put something out and it doesn't get the likes that something else would. You just kind of have to accept that that's part and parcel of it. And I mean, it's human to, like, you know, have some people like some things, some people don't like others. It's a real mixed bag, but like, yeah, in terms of something that stands out, one of the worst things is whenever you travel for a gig and it doesn't go well, because you know, that's the commitment of time, and
Yeah.
time's very valuable to me. So like, if I've gone over to Manchester for talk's sake and had a bad tour show, it pisses me off, because you kind of, if you have a bad gig in Belfast, you just drive home and you're out of the mindset of it.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're there, you're just kind of thinking about it and being a bit hard on yourself. So nothing really stands out. And it is that thing of like, when things are going badly, you're still in a position where you're doing the job that you love. So you can't really be too upset about it, because you can always go again. You know what I mean? If it's a gig and or a bit of material that doesn't go well, you can go and do another gig tomorrow night and see if you can make it better and work on that material. So I don't know, like, nothing really stands out, but things can go badly at any moment. You just kind of have to be able to understand that every joke you tell isn't going to get a laugh. Every video you put out isn't going to be a hit, but just keep doing the things that you think are funny. And if I'm enjoying myself, then I'll just keep doing it.
Yeah. I suppose, like, if that's like the worst case scenario, really, like, where it's, oh, maybe a joke doesn't land, you know, a gig doesn't go too bad, like, that's really, like, I mean, you're winning essentially, like, either way.
Yeah,
if that's where your limit is.
I put a podcast clip out a couple of days ago, and this guy wrote under it, like a adult man, was like, I love your videos, mate, always have, but this one's really disappointed me. And I was
That's like a parent. Jesus Christ.
yeah,
I'm
I
not
was
angry.
like,
I'm just disappointed.
I was like, you're not paying for this, right? You haven't made a financial commitment for this. I haven't signed a contract with you that you're going to enjoy everything I do. And it's like, to me, it's so dumb to like say that. It's like, I get like, there are genuinely comedians who put stuff out and can't hack it when it doesn't go great or people like
Yeah.
react negatively to it. They're like, some people delete videos because they're like, oh, no one liked that. It's like, well, you must have liked it to put it up, so leave it up.
Yeah.
But to have like an adult person leave like negative comments on a video, like shite, didn't like it or whatever. First of all, you have to definitely be able to take that and in no way let it affect you. But like, who are these people? Like, what do you think? What are you hoping to achieve by writing this? Like, I'm not going to change what I'm doing, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
But thanks for your input, sir.
yeah, exactly. I just find it funny, but like, you know, for doing stand-up from a young age and kind of doing every bad gig that you can imagine and having every bad experience on stage, you have a very thick skin.
Yeah.
So like you there's nothing you can write under a video negatively about the video that's going to impact my life for a split second, you know?
I'll take it as a challenge, actually. We're just saying
Go
I'm not
for
going
it.
to be trolling you for the next while.
Go for it, I'll throw you back.
There's a wee spacky freak fucking chances are we. But I suppose, yeah, that's it. Like, do you know what I mean? I kind of put them in the same category as like, do you know the Facebook post where it's say like, oh, whatever, like some new research or whatever like this, and then they have like Dorothy from Enniskillen that's just been like wrote an essay being like, here's my opinion on it. It's like, mate, do you know what I mean? You're just like, you're shouting into your wee echo chamber, like, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. Like, you know, there's no real harm done in it. It's just kind of like, why would you at some time? Maybe they don't need to worry about their timing too much. They got plenty of it. Yeah,
exactly.
But I suppose as well, from like obviously doing these huge standard shows, to podcasting to everything else, like what, like I know you've kind of said like it's hard to judge now, but because we're in a pandemic, but what does kind of a future hold for yourself? I mean, like, is there a 5-year plan or any big goals that like you're looked to achieve that you maybe haven't so far? Like, because from the sounds of it, like it's, I mean, from the different like shows, like it's so eclectic. Like, where'd you go from here? I mean, or is this maybe like, is it time for a plateau?
Could be. I think
everything goes downhill from this podcast.
Yeah, you're telling me. But no, I think. I mean, you never know. You never know the idea of like things going downhill or whatever. I mean, it will happen at some point. I think you just have to, you know, if you're doing things you're passionate about and still enjoying, then I think you'll sort of be okay. But there will be a time where you're not seen as like the young guy, the new guy. You know, already like I'm not really mentioned as like a young comedian anymore. And even like when I was 29, 30, that's not really young, but still you're clumped in this category. And I still am from time to time, and I would still probably say I was a young comedian, weirdly. But it's like your favorite film stars who suddenly aren't as popular as they were. You know, you look at someone like, I mentioned this to someone recently. Take Jim Carrey, for example.
Oh God, aged like milk. God.
But I don't think he has, because I think you see someone like that and they're doing the same kind of sort of goofball films, the best films when I was growing up, Ace Ventura, The Mask, all that kind of thing. But then that style of humor just stops being the thing that people enjoy. So all of a sudden they find a new guy. And then you think, oh, well, you think Jim Carrey's done or he's not cool anymore or whatever. But then he then reinvents himself, and it takes a while and he has to go and explore what he wants to do. But now, like Jim Carrey is great when he's interviewed. He went through a real weird patch, I thought, with like performance, like life art. But now he has come around to be this like really, really intelligent, easy to listen to guy who is probably just doing projects at the minute he's passionate about. He doesn't need to do stuff for money and all that kind of thing. So it's one of those things where, like, you know, you can't expect to always be as popular as you work. Like your popularity is going to go up and down, but the sooner you accept that, the better. In terms of me, no, I don't really have a 5-year plan or anything like that. My plan is always no more or less than be able to support my family. It's literally that. It's like, can we make our mortgage and maybe go on a holiday once a year, something like that. That's a win. Anything more than that is just totally a bonus. So with like work stuff, I'm enjoying everything I'm doing at the minute, and maybe I'll drop something and pick up something new, or maybe just focus on one or two things. I'm not sure, but I don't really think I'm spreading myself too thin at the minute. My time is sort of well divided up between them all. So I would probably see myself maybe going a little bit more permanently with a radio slot, doing like maybe once a week at the minute, and then maybe as I get a little bit older, maybe I'll do some more radio. Podcasting's great. Love doing that. Don't see that stopping. Stand up, the idea is it's not to like do bigger and bigger events. Like that is great to do big venues, but as long as I think I'm getting better at stand up all the time, then I keep doing it, and as long as I'm enjoying it, and I couldn't love it anymore at the minute. And then writing's what I've got big into over lockdown, because I sort of had to. I'm working on like a big sort of passion project of mine, a sitcom script based in Northern Ireland, that I've been working on for sort of the guts of like a year or two.
Yeah.
And some cool things might be happening with that, but it's one of those ones where like I know a million friends that have thought, their script is going to go here or go there, and for the tiniest of reasons, sometimes it doesn't. So I'm just seeing where that goes, but I'm really enjoying writing at the minute, and there's some great people involved with me on the project. So that is like my main focus at the minute.
No more acting really, or did you just kind of like peak at that Battle of the Bone? Was that kind of like
Battle of the Bone was it? Yeah, Battle of the Bone was my.
I'd say it's hard to top.
It's hard to top, definitely. Battle of the Bone, Jesus Christ. For anyone obviously who doesn't know, Battle of the Bone was a 2008 Northern Irish independent zombie film I was in, which is as good as you think that it would be.
Which is stellar. Yeah, of course. Like the reviews knock out of the park. Like God,
so good, so good.
That's why I'm just hoping that the cinemas reopen. That's all I'm looking to, because surely that'll be on high priority list when a lot of these didn't have releases. That's just going to have a reboost out. Yeah.
The only thing, it was in 18, so I don't know if you didn't bring ID. I don't know if you get in, because here's the thing, Connor. I don't know whether you're 13 or 47.
Says a man who literally doesn't age. Like
I don't. I know. Here's the thing. What's going to happen is it's going to catch up with me at some point really fast, I think. Like, I look at people I used to go to school with, and I'm like, mate, you know what I mean? You're bald, you're wearing a gilet, you've got chinos on and boat shoes. I was like, I'm wearing, fluorescent green Adidas tracksuit bottoms and a Juicy Couture hoodie. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm the youthful face guy, so I don't know what's happening, but I think it will catch up.
Yeah. It'll just, the hairline will completely recede one day. Yeah, just liver spots all over. Like
my hairline's the only thing I have going for me, so I need to cling on to this. And if it starts to go a bit, Turkey, I'll be going to Turkey. Get that done, get the veneers done, come back a different guy. Maybe even not a guy. I don't know. See what happens.
Yeah, play your cards right. Who knows? Like, but here, just before we finish off, I did actually put out on my Instagram with the huge following that I have, just in case anybody wanted to ask any questions. So I've got a couple of questions from some people. I don't if you're happy enough to answer them. Yeah, far away. Right. So one of these is kind of like a genuine question. It was kind of like similar to what I was asking. The rest of these are a bit more crack. But there's a guy, Corey M. He said, how did you keep the creative juices flowing throughout lockdown? I don't know what particular juices he's talking about, but like he said as well, how do you keep consistent? I mean,
I think the output isn't always consistent. Like we were saying earlier, sometimes you have a really good video and you could follow it with an absolute video that's really badly received. You can't really be in control of that. But I think if you put the same amount of work in, then that's the consistency. So I just make sure that I properly work when I'm working, take advantage of a couple of hours at a time when I get to work, and sort of like work on that with my wife, because it's you have to juggle things with the baby, and you have to realize that before I would have worked from maybe like 8 a.m. till 3 p.m. and that was my daily thing. Whereas now it's like, okay, I'll take a couple hours here, and then maybe in the evening I'm going to do a little bit of work there. Mm-hmm. So I think just putting the work in. The creative juices don't always flow, but I think you have to be in the right mindset that when they do, you're ready to like work on that. So if I wanted to write a load of stand up, but it wasn't coming naturally to me, well, I'm not going to force that. But what I can do is go and do a little bit of editing that I have to do for the podcast. So it's just always working on something. Always find something for yourself. And if it really isn't coming, don't force it and just go for a walk,
Sorry if obviously people can't see this. Fucking neighbour just dropped over a thing in the middle of me talking to you and scared the shit out of me. Jesus Christ. What? That's not 2 meters apart, Gillian. Jesus. Okay, next question is, have you ever been starred on? This I'm actually quite interested in. Have you ever been starred on when interviewing, like, say, whenever you go out into the Holy Lands? Like, have you ever got, because obviously you're going to get a mix of people in those kind of areas, but like, has there ever been anybody, be like, ew? Well, I'm sure people are fucking just like shouting bollocks at you, like.
1,000%. Every time we do those Holy Lands video, people just do laps of the Holy Lands, and the same guys will shout different thing every time. Yes, that happens frequently when I'm doing that. And normally we try and get that on camera, because stuff like that cuts into the video really well.
Yeah.
And it's natural, you know what I mean? Because if you tried to set that up, it would look fake. So we try and capture any real interaction that happen. So that happens quite a lot. It doesn't happen in like day-to-day life. Like, people are generally just very civil, and like, if they want to talk to you, they will just be nice about it, just come and chat to you. But in terms of people like shouting things like that, yes, it definitely does happen. Sometimes people will shout. Sometimes people just want to shout, "All right, mate." Sometimes people want to shout a catchphrase from a video or whatever it is. But 99 out of 100 people are very dead on about it.
No, not too bad then. Now, next question actually comes from my cousin. You may know her, Jen Finn, big name on campus. But she was asking, will Keith Cruz be making a return in 2021?
100%, yes. I was actually going to do one. I was going to do one last night, but I think I want to take a bit more time to write it. But yeah, 100%. That's my favorite character to play. So yes, definitely.
Also, on the side of this, she's also asked, will you do a set at her wedding?
For the right price, yes.
Yeah, we'll discuss this afterwards. Yeah,
absolutely. Why not?
Go for it. Yeah, well, we got our recording now, so I mean, yeah, I guess it's like a verbal agreement. So, Shane, thanks so much for doing my cousin's wedding. She'll be absolutely delighted with that. Yeah.
No worries.
Now, this last one, I do just want to do really quick fire before we get off. I mean, none of this has really been quick fire, but this one, I swear to God, quick fire. Word association, okay? So whatever comes to your mind as soon as I say these, and then after that, I'll let you go, because I'm sure you've been fucking bit on for too long today. Yeah.
No, you're fine.
Okay, so first word off, Ollies.
Velvet rope. Oh, it's only one word, is it?
Well, any kind of association.
Okay, goose.
Belfast.
Decent.
Mike McGoldrick.
Iconic.
BBC.
Trying to think of just one word. I know it's supposed to be quick fire and I've gone against it, but I will say optimistic.
Holy Lands.
Dirt.
Hollywood.
Heaven.
Dave Elliott.
Twat.
Lurgan.
Buckfast.
Bowbells.
Cafe. There's a cafe called Bowbells, Donegal, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, all right. Apparently, I was listening to a podcast earlier where you had a big opinion about Bowbells. I thought that would spark something. It'd be like Connor.
I didn't know you knew that, so I presume you didn't know Bowbells Cafe. So I was like, what?
Oh, you
what
forget.
Actually is a Bowbell? So okay, I get it.
Bowbells Cafe then.
Plentiful.
Thompson's.
Indifferent.
Battle of the Bone.
Oscar.
Tea.
Great.
Armagh.
Apples.
Finally, Finnterviews.
Experience.
Oh, wow. Well, Shane, thank you so much again for coming on to the show. I appreciate it so much that, I mean, again, I reached out to you ages ago and I didn't expect really anything to come from this, to be honest. So, like, anybody that... No, honestly, like, as I said, everybody that, like, you know, comes onto this, I'm just some spec kid in the internet that reaches out. So anybody that does, especially like somebody like yourself, who I've been growing up and appreciate the kind of humor and comedy that you brought to my world, if not many others.
Well, thank you.
I just really appreciate anybody that takes out the time, especially whenever, you know, you've got fucking children, all the rest of it. I can't imagine what that must be like. So thank you, honestly. And yeah, if people maybe don't, you know, if they want to know you, or maybe if just discover you from this podcast, where can they find you then, just before we cut off?
You can find me on just all social media, just Shane Todd, just my own name.
That works. Yeah. No, is there no kind of like sketchy emails I can get to, like like Big Dick 2000 Hotmail?
No, don't be stupid. It's 2003.
Oh, that's my
yeah, no, just yeah, all the usual places, YouTube, all that, just wherever you want. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, no worries at all. Well, thanks so much, sir, and have a lovely day. All right.
Connor, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
See you later. Bye.